This program is brought to you by Donku Communication Company Limited. Fixing South Sudan. Ideas for the new nation. With the award-winning journalist, Ading Mar.
Absolutely.
Honorable Ashwin, as you can see, the ideas of the initiatives are varied.
On July 8th, the clashes in J1 took place, which was very unfortunate.
Including country-specific funds, which the rebellion continue to be
Hoist up the flag for freedom. 2011.
Fixing South Sudan. Ideas for the new nation. Hello, welcome to Fixing South Sudan. Your ideas for building the new nation. I am Ading Mar. Was asked for the interview. Honorable Juma Stephen Luga, the President of the Olympic Committee for South Sudan and the Minister for Physical Infrastructure, Jubek State. His idea for fixing South Sudan is to heal our divided nation through sports. We have the pleasure to welcome him. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, brother.
How are you?
I'm fine. Yeah.
So you have a very ambitious and challenging task before you. So talking about your work as the Olympic Committee, just let us understand the basics of your work.
Well, South Sudan Olympic or National Olympic Committee is a new affiliated body to the International Olympic Committee. It happened actually in Kuala Lumpur. And South Sudan now is a member or number 206 in the Olympic family. So we are privileged actually to be among the nations. And previously, of course, when Sudan was one, South Sudan also, athletes were there competing in the All Sudan. But it's a new nation now. Likely enough, we also affiliation of South Sudan to the International Olympic Committee coincide with the Olympic for Rio de Janeiro. And just within that few months, we attended the Rio de Janeiro games. But we went through a position called universality position. And the universality position is for a country whose athletes have not qualified to the games. So we had that privilege, and as a new executive body for South Sudan Olympic Committee, we are actually gearing towards Japan 2020.
The Olympics Committee is all about sports.
Sports, yes.
Sports everywhere. So where do we start?
Well, we have already developed our strategic plan for the next 4 years. And as I mentioned, we want to use sports to unify the people of South Sudan and the youth of South Sudan. So it is very important that sports is a catalyst in our country. It will bring harmony, it will bring togetherness, and it will actually unify the people of South Sudan.
Part of your key mandate is to develop competitive sports in South Sudan.
Yes.
What are the popular ones in the country?
Well, currently we have 8 federations under the umbrella of South Sudan National Olympic Committee.
Namely?
We have football, we have basketball, we have handball, we have volleyball, we have judo, we have taekwondo, and athletics. So these are the 8 affiliated federations in the country. And actually there are more than that, but up to now we have only 8 affiliated federations.
At this point, are we talking about quantity or quality?
Well, we can talk of quality. If we pick, for example, our basketball, of course we have one of the talented athletes now in the NBA. And recently, yes, we have some of them there. And recently, some of our diaspora young basketballers, they came up to Egypt and they competed there. Unfortunately, they are not qualified, but these are the third generation, as they are saying, those who came from diaspora, the school age. And they have done wonders. And we have hope there in basketball. Athletic also, there is hope because we have a number of young athletes who are also promising to compete in the coming competition. Yes.
So the potential is there, but how do you tap
Potentials
into
available, and we'll be moving actually also to the states. Yeah, we check those who are inside the country as well as outside the country. Want to bring them together. Yeah.
What is the situation currently in South Sudan? What are the opportunities? What are the challenges?
Well,
As far as developing the competitive sports.
well, as I mentioned of our strategic plan, as an Olympic body, we're going to develop within this month our annual plan, and within this annual plan we'll have programs. These programs is the roadmap for us, yes, to promote the youth and even target the competition ahead of us. We have Algeria next year, and also we have competition in Argentina. So we are preparing for that.
There's a lot you want to do, but you don't have anything to do it. Is that accurate to say?
Well, if you are talking of material-wise, maybe there are challenges there. And of course, we'll be having assistance also from the International Olympic Committee or the Solidarity body, which is financially assisting the NOCs. So the component from the government, that one also will be available because we're going to prepare our budget and we'll submit it through maybe the Cabinet Affairs or the Ministry of Culture, Youth and Sports, so that the budget for the Olympic to be approved by the government.
For South Sudan to be a major sporting nation, you need a lot of things in place. Infrastructure is almost non-existent.
That is true. The issue of infrastructure, yes, with what is available now, we can utilize them, but also in our pipeline, when we were in the Rio de Janeiro, the president of International Olympic Committee promised South Sudan for a track. And this track will be done here in Juma. We've already obtained a land from Mangala County, just across the river, a very huge land of 1 million square meter. This one now is available, and we're still making our communication with the international body so that we can start doing the construction for that. They have a limited budget for that, but the component from the government will add to the one coming from the International Olympic Committee to construct the Olympic complex.
When we talk about sports in South Sudan, we are talking about 32 states. How do you decentralize your work?
Well,
so that you get the potential from everywhere.
Of course, our annual plan, which we are going to prepare, will dictate the movement. And we are not leaving any state outside. We have to move, and we'll be inclusive. And of course, we'll be having Olympic Day, which is celebrated annually. And this one also in our plan, we want to shift them from state to state. So this one, the president of Olympic Committee will be filled within the states.
And in most of the states, do you have the necessary playing grounds where you need to nurture some talent?
Well, when we were elected into office, in my speech as a new elected president for South Sudan National Olympic Committee, I'm urging the governors, at least each state, to prepare 2 playgrounds to the standard in the capital of the states. And also we're urging the county commissioners at least also to construct at least 5 new or additional playgrounds in their counties. So if we can just make a little arithmetic, making this calculation, we'll have a basic ground for our athletes to practice sports in their states.
You know, I have to think of a country like ours, but I cannot think about the enormity of the challenge that faces you, because the needs are so great. And how do you ensure that your impact is felt, because it's a situation where everything is almost a priority.
Yeah, that is true.
How do you reach out to so many people, to so many areas?
Well, we'll do a campaign and advocacy for sports in the country. This one is coming up, and it will lead to our top leadership in the country that sports is very important element for bringing the youth of the nation together. Even important element, you can see recently the winning of the Bright Star. Bright Star now is in a good mood. 2 days ago, they defeated Somalia, and now they've qualified to the next level. That next level, they will see either Uganda or one of the East African countries. If successfully they can go through also, they will go now to a group competition. This alone, has been felt by our leadership in the football, Juma football stadium. The happiness of all the youth and the fun who were there.
It is often stated, and you have said it severally, that sports can unite, it can bring people together. How does it do that?
Sports, as I said, is a catalyst. There is no division in the sports. In the sport, people are working as a team. So the teamwork is the basis for bringing people together. And this teamwork is from all corners of South Sudan. So that is the base for bringing, a sport can bring youth or the people together in South Sudan.
And you know that young people are the majority here. They constitute about 70% of
That
the
is true.
population.
Yes.
So how do you engage them through sports?
We'll engage them through inter-school competition. That is another area also. We work together with the Ministry of General Education. We need the inter-school competition to be sponsored and played all over South Sudan. Each state will compete among the schools within, and all the states will compete together. That is another area. Coming to the federation level, we'll have different competition also within the federations. And also this one will bringing youth together from different part of South Sudan. We'll be having, for example, JICA also have they're always conducting a tournament annually. That also will bring South Sudanese together. And I was talking of Olympic Day. This Olympic Day also will bring in a number of games or activities that also can be felt within the South Sudanese. So we have a number of fora for this.
Let's take a break from here.
Thank you. Yeah.
Welcome to Fixing South Sudan, your ideas for building the new nation. I am Madingor. Do you have a vision for South Sudan? Do you have what it takes to build a just and cohesive South Sudanese society? What is your idea for fixing the nation? Join me for a one-on-one interview. Let's debate about who we are and who we shall become. Welcome back to Fixing South Sudan, your ideas for building the new nation. I am Adingor. Our guest is Honorable Juma Stephen Luga, the President of the National Olympic Committee for South Sudan and the Minister for Physical Infrastructure, Jubek State. He believes in healing South Sudan through sports. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you. Thank you.
So now, to start your work, the flag of the Olympic Committee has to be raised. It is not the case. Why is this not the case?
The flag of National Olympic Committee
Has not been officially raised
in South Sudan.
Has not been hoisted.
Well, that is true because of premises. Up to now, there is no official premises for South Sudan National Olympic Committee. But we have now hired a place just near Nimra Talata, near the basketball stadium. There was a house being run by Red Cross, and when they move out from that place, we are now we're hiring that place, and we are now preparing for the official raising of the Olympic flag here in Juba.
So what will that involve?
Well, that one will be a small ceremony, and within the ceremony we'll bring two activities, whether it is basketball, handball, or volleyball, or even judo, taekwondo. We'll do that in a basketball stadium, and of course the host will be the president of the country to come and raise the flag officially. Meanwhile, the one in Rio de Janeiro, of course, it was in the presence of the Vice President James Wani Iga, who went to Rio de Janeiro also during the raising of flag of South Sudan in the Olympic Village. So we raised it first outside, but now we are trying to raise it inside. We are preparing for that.
To fix South Sudan through sports, you have to appreciate the current challenges. In that regard, there is a lot of division in South Sudan, a lot of hatred in South Sudan, a lot of conflict in South Sudan. And of course, in this season, this is the hunger season.
Yeah.
So, do you ever think, how do I achieve this when in fact there are these many challenges facing me?
Well, of course, this crisis for South Sudan is, of course, it is taking that dimension of politics. It is politically within the country. And when we're coming to sports, within sport there is no hatred. Within sports, there is, that is what they call, if you are defeated, you say hard luck. And if you win, you jubilize. And that is the nature of his sport. So what is going on in politics cannot be exercised in the sports because of the nature of his sport, that people are living together, they are working together as a team, there is harmony within the sport. So that one alone, if the politician can just imitate or take what is taking place within the sports, then the crisis in the country, I think, will not take us, will be stopped. So we are optimistic that when we are spreading the activities of his sports, we are advocating for his sports, we are making awareness of the sports activities within the country, and the leadership of the country, they are to be part of that performance. The great run, you can see, everybody was there, from the president up to the last. And people were happy together. Then that alone, you know, that scene or scenery, you know, for the great run is alone a unifying factor for the people of South Sudan. If they are there determined to give their £1 just for those who are disadvantaged in the areas of crisis, just to rescue what is taking there, the poverty or not poverty, hunger, you know. So this one is a commitment. So within the sport itself, people are committed to work together. So that element of commitment is very important so that the politician can imitate what is taking place in the sports.
You talked about the fact that government needs to do more for sports, and in sports, we are talking about funding. So let's talk about funding. Where does the money come from to run your activities?
Funding of the sport. In the Olympic, normally they have the money for the Olympic. The net will be distributed to the countries. So South Sudan will be served actually with that portion for South Sudan. And all the countries are equal, you know. I think they are talking about 500 million
This is for all the member states.
Yes, for the all member states.
So
then
you will get.
we will get our portion from that money. I don't know how much, but it will be geared to each country through the Olympic solidarity. What they got, Olympic solidarity. Olympic solidarity is the body responsible for funding the national Olympic committees. So we'll get that portion, which will be geared for a specific program and activities inside the country.
But in other countries, it is the government that steps up.
Yes, the government also is tasked actually for the infrastructure. If the government can prepare the infrastructure inside the country, then that assistance coming outside can be a support to the athletes, because the athlete itself is an element which is very important. The athlete who is going to compete, you have to prepare him, you have to train him. This capacity building is needed for the coaches, for the referees, for the managers. So if that assistance, which is coming from outside, can be geared toward building the athletes, the coaches, that one also is very important. And the one from the government will be for the infrastructure inside the country. So that is how we can divide that. But currently, that element from the government is not available, and we are looking forward that there was a proposal from one of the MPs, Jaden Jada, that we have to develop Damaga, they call it Damaga Tarriada.
Is it a fund?
Yes, Damaga Tarriada is just a fund.
Special fund for
special fund from the activities inside the country. For example, the body responsible for our revenues, there will be £1 to be charged. Only £1 or £2, or even you can talk of £10. That one will go to the fund for these sports. So that one, if government or our National Assembly can do that, it will actually relieve the government. So it will be the public contributing to support the sport. So we want to emphasize that this fund is very important. It needs to be raised through the Ministry of Culture, Youth and Sports, and it will get its way to the Assembly for approval. And the MPs there, I think they are ready just to pass that. So it will be a relief to the government and even to the Ministry of Culture, Youth and Sport, because the budget for Ministry of Youth and Sport is very small. Football alone cannot cover it, or leave aside the other federations.
At this point, you have not yet attracted enough funds, but when money comes in, there's usually troubles, mismanagement.
Well, of course, we have an example of the Football Federation, which is unfortunately is not good. And if really we want to go ahead with our sport, we have to be honest with ourselves, and also the integrity should be there, because it's very important. People are talking of malpractice. We don't want malpractice to come in the sports. We want the sports to be clean. And maybe that what happened in football, we want it to be the last, and it will not repeat itself with the other federations, and even in the Olympic Committee. We want to be clean, and of course, it will damage the image of the country. If we are aware of the former president of football, of FIFA, yes.
So
even though he was elected, but he cannot stay because of these issues of malpractice.
So what safeguards have you put in place?
Well, procedures, financial procedures has to be clear, you know. So that one will assist those who are inside to follow the procedures, and the money is meant for what? It will not be transferred to a private account or to any account. It will go specifically to the activities or the project meant for that. Yeah. So we are serious about that in the Olympic Committee. We have to make sure that we are going through this issue of finance without any blame which will come in the future. And actually it's very important. And the auditing of the account also is very important, with auditors, chamber of auditors is there. Also, they will be part of monitoring what is taking place with it. We have to be transparent in managing the financial affairs.
I have to understand why, as a minister, you chose to also vie for this position as president of the National Olympic Committee. Is it passion, or what is it? What is it?
Well, of course, as a sports, of course, we love sports, and we want to contribute and also to participate in the activities of the sports. And it was not my making myself to be there. The people say, we need you to come.
But you must love it yourself.
Yeah, of course, we love sport and want to work together, actually, just to move sport in the country. Yes, it's become part of our blood, and we are pushing forward, yes, to make sports successful in the country.
And you know one or two things about sports.
Yeah.
You were a goalkeeper.
Yeah, that is true.
So that means every ball that comes at you, you will keep it. It won't go anywhere.
Yeah, actually, because my background as a goalkeeper, we started in Atlabara Club, which is now one of the leading clubs in Juba, of course. We went to African Cup, I think 2 or 3 times, African Champion League. And even last year they were there. And before that, actually, was also in Rumbek Senior Secondary School, and also a goalkeeper for the school. And during the competition, we were there with other colleagues. Yeah, and actually, the work of goalkeeper is very tough and needed to be alert always. And so that was my background.
But
and,
a goalkeeper doesn't go very far. They just stay in one place.
Well, they are moving, even they are giving instruction to the defender and to the player there, because they are a goalkeeper is a person who can see what is taking place in the field, because he's the last and can see what is taking place, and actually give advice to the defender and to them.
Give me an example where you really felt that sports is really powerful. Sports can really unite South Sudan. Give me one
It
example.
will take me back during the days of Addis Ababa. We were celebrating the 3rd of March. You know, every year we were competing all over the country, or the South Sudan, you know. I was in Rumbek, not representing Equatoria here. I am representing Rumbek. So you can see this. And other players from Juba here, they were in Upper Nile in Malakal Secondary School. And they're there, they are representing Malakal, not representing Equatoria. And vice versa, people, and also from Malakal, they were in Lucas Secondary School. The students from Rumbek, they were also in Lucas Secondary School, but they're representing this area, not Rumbek. This is just a live example.
And it can be repeated?
Of course, it can be repeated. And unfortunately, at the moment, we don't have dormitories. You know, during our time, of course, the dormitories, people from here, taken to Upper Nile or even to Malacca or Bahar al-Ghazal, you know, you will not stay in your place. And it will be the policy for the Ministry of Education that people have to be moved from your place. You have to go and study in a different environment, not your environment. So that one also was a good policy, and it's a source of bringing people together, you know. So it is very important, because if you are together, then what will, you will not harm your colleague, you know. Even up to now, those who are in the government, we have colleagues, you know. So it is very important that the issue of dormitory, if the Ministry of Education can revive that, also it can work. Yes.
And what are your hopes for the Bright Star?
Of course, we are supporting Bright Star morally, and even
what's your prediction?
Our prediction at the moment
against the Cranes.
Of course, Crane is tough, but we need much additional effort so that these players can also go ahead. Because these are the local players, excluding our professional players outside, those in Khartoum, those outside Sudan. They are not competing in this tournament. because this one is specifically for the local players, not playing outside the country.
Give me a score. What do you think it's going to be?
For the coming,
South Sudan versus Uganda. What's going to be the score?
well, we can say 2-1 for South Sudan.
Thanks for coming to the show.
Thank you very much.
Okay.